It's really fun once a year to do the two-parter because we can do bigger than normal storytelling with a really heightened world, and we've had really great success with it.
Sophia Turner.
Hello, Rick. Welcome to the CIA.
We have a nice guest star come in and hang out with us. It was a lot of fun.
In these bigger episodes, we like putting Castle and Beckett in jeopardy. So David Amon and I decided to lock Castle and Beckett into a car that was underwater.
It's not an original idea for a car to go off and people to be sinking, so how can we do it so it's about the characters? Castle and Beckett have never gone over dock into the water, so we'll make it about that as opposed to just the car going in.
For this two-parter, my initial thoughts were, this is going to be really fun. I've certainly never done it before, and it's something that you want to get right. It's a major undertaking doing something big like that.
And then the funnest part is, how do we shoot Nathan and Stana in an environment that looks like they're in there in the time we have and for the money we have?
Castle!
Spirit New York Street Night, scene 1.
The production meetings are very important. When you're dealing with a stunt like this, all the various departments are involved. All the different departments really have to talk, so we come out of it with a unified vision and everybody knows what their role is. Castle starts to open the door, ping, ping, ping. You can do it with sound, but you might want to be prepared for outside to do a bullet hit on the corner of the car. He closes it.
Anytime I read a script and I see a great stunt like in the two-parter where the car gets smashed and goes over the pier, I can't wait to get the team together and figure out, are we going to really take the car in the water, and what are we actually going to really shoot, what's going to be CGI.
Bottom lower level of the cage for the impact, and then another car comes in that we hook up for the push.
Production meetings can be really kind of an interesting environment, especially for a two-parter. Obviously, the biggest question is, how are we going to keep the actors safe in a car that appears to be filling with water?
I was excited to see how they were going to do it. I thought that that would be a really fun stunt to play. I actually thought that we were going to be underwater, like fully submerged, but that's not quite the way that it worked in the end.
What kind of safety do we need?
Well, I'm going to be there, so I'm going to babysit them in the car and just make sure that, you know, they get in and get out.
Is there any reason for them to need air in that car?
It was a big, big episode. I threw my little 2 cents in the hat, and we talked about it. I know one of the things that they wanted to do, they didn't want to go in a tank, and they didn't want to go into the river, so we had to come up with an idea that we could do the car on the set.
The tank moves. So if the camera's here and you're looking at, we have the bubbles, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then, say there's a little bit of an angle here, we just turn it, and then we want to go that side, we just roll it.
What would be important is when the production meeting's over, people are instantly beginning a proactive, causative approach to problem solving, and everybody's aware of what everybody else's problems are. I'm good. I got it.
All right, everybody, we got 4 cameras, 3 film cameras, 1 video camera on our stunt. The SUV ramming into Beckett's car.
Dennis was working with Brian Spicer, the director of storyboards, and worked with a great team in order to deliver the best possible look that we could.
We're tucked in here pretty safe. This fence area is in a little jeopardy. In other words, nobody in this fence. Everybody on this side of the camera over here is great.
If you were to line up a bunch of people and just kind of judging books by their covers and say, who's probably the most responsible, straight-laced guy in the group, you would not pick Dennis. He's got wild hair, kind of dresses like a rocker. He's got a bandana wrapped around one leg all the time and cowboy boots, and he looks a bit like a wild card. And he kind of is a wild card in life. But when it comes to stunts, he's very concerned about safety. He's very concerned about your comfort level.
I always have this big joke of, like, you do anything with Dennis, like you lean on a chair, and I'm like, oh, let's get you padded up. Hey, hey, hey. And he's got like a stunt guy comes in there, they're slapping pads on you, like, I'm just leaning. No, better safe than sorry. You know, let's just get you padded up. It'll be better. Get you padded up. Okay, we'll get, get you some pads for that, we get the pads. So that's Dennis. He's very safety conscious.
Dennis, he's got a great team. I think they're some of the, safest stunt guys in the business, and it's great working with someone like Dennis.
These guys are padded, harnessed, checked out.
Yes.
Doors work. Questions, anybody? Thank you. Let's be safe.
When you have 2 stunt people in the car, you want to give them a good whack, but you don't want to give them whiplash either, because as tough as we all are stunt people, nobody can take a hit from behind. So I had to figure out the right speed. And it was around 22 feet or 23 feet where I could step on the gas, come in with power, hit them, at a reasonable speed without any chance of injury.
Ready, and 1, 2, 3, finish!
It was a perfect speed where they got a good hit and we got a great gag and nobody was hurt.
Okay, next shot we're going to have both cars joined together, both the cameras covering.
When we put Stana and Nathan in the car, after I hit it with the stunt doubles, it was time to push them.
So we were in a car that was latched onto the front of a bigger car and being pushed towards the edge of a dock, the edge of a... There's water down below. I don't know how deep it was. I know I couldn't see the bottom, and I know there were dolphins there. So it's got to be pretty deep.
Oh, God. It was great, but there was like a moment, the first take that we did, there was a moment where I realized that I had no escape route available to me. And so if for some reason we didn't stop at the water's edge and we kept going, I was going to be hard-pressed to find a way out of that car.
Hold on, Castle.
Stana is somebody who approaches every situation without fear and with a great deal of curiosity, and she wants to be the person who does it. She really embraces those challenges. Nathan does as well, and so hopefully the end result that's on the screen is convincing for the audience.
Back it! How long can you hold your breath?
That first day, we were attached to another vehicle pushing us off the end of a dock. The second day, they had Stana and I in a car that was filled with water.
I directed the sequence of them underwater and trying to figure out how to get out. I decided to storyboard it first and not think about the car or the limitations or anything, and just let whatever the right angles would be then dictate how we would do it. And I knew that I had cameras in places that there's no way you could put a camera there. So I called Bobby, our effects supervisor, on a Sunday morning and said, you know, I'm stuck on practical application of the storyboards. And so Bobby came over to the house.
We walked around his car. He wanted to get certain shots that were pretty fluid, which meant assembling the inside of the car with huge pieces of glass.
What they could do is take the interior portion of a car door, put it up against the glass, so when you're shooting this way, you have glass for the window and the interior portion of the door. But when you're shooting this way, they can take that interior out. You have all glass. You can see through the entire car, and they put an interior portion of the door on this side.
We had a car that was on stage at an angle, and it was sealed off so we could pump water into it. And in the background, we had a large tank that was bubbling up so that when we shot through the car, it looked as if it was underwater.
We decided that if there's any overflow problems or any other issues that may occur, that we would have a weir. It's like a catch basin. If all the water in the car were to suddenly blow the glass out, it would go in this weir.
Every imaginable thing that would make it photographable, comfortable for the cast, repeatable, was all part of Bobby's engineering. It's fantastic.
As a first AD, I'm in charge of safety. So I held a safety meeting so that everybody would be in sync as far as what was to be expected and there would be no surprises.
We get kind of used to the idea of just being able to plug in our own stuff wherever. We should always consult Dennis or his electrical, the set lighting team, as to where we can actually get power for different things that we'll need off the set.
Filling a car up with water and having it come up on you, and it's a distraction. So the rehearsal process is important so that you at least know your job before you go into this very distracting situation.
Okay, so I'm going to do the first one as you, so I can show you what in terms of where you're looking. I blocked out the sequence on a couple of apple boxes outside the car. I played Nathan, and I just took him through all the beats once. Okay, help me look for it. Go.
Help me look for it. Castle, I'm stuck.
What do you mean you're stuck?
I mean, my belt is jammed.
He watched me after they did a dry rehearsal on the apple boxes. I put them in the car.
And action!
My door's stuck.
The window won't open either. I think the electrical is shorted out.
We're gonna need something to break the glass.
Take one went perfect. And it was the beginning of a very successful day.
Try again, Rob. Stana, if you can hear me. Thank you.
They kept pouring in warm water that would slowly take us over.
I made little 2.5-inch outlets so I could drain the water out. And I took a 4,000-gallon water truck and huge pool heaters, and I recycled the water through the water truck.
Nathan and Stana had to wear wetsuits. As cozy as the water was, it was warm. If you stay in the water for 3 or 4 hours, it doesn't matter if it's warm. As time went on, they would have been freezing.
It was actually, in the beginning, too hot. The humidity inside the car, it was very warm water in the beginning. And by the end of it, it started getting pretty cold because they wanted fresh water in there all the time for us, just for comfort level and just for cleanliness.
Castle?
Hang on.
I'm the kind of main communicator on the set, and so I tried to let them know how far, the water was going to go up each time, and we worked out a hand signals for safety.
If anyone felt uncomfortable at any point, they could just stand up and we would be fine.
Do it again.
Nathan and Stana are very go-getters. They're very game for any of the things that we've thought of.
Somebody gave me an iPhone case that was waterproof, and I sat into the water. And when the water was coming up, I think I was continually going under and going under. I pulled out my phone. I said, hang on, I'm calling my agent. And you could see the lights on the phone, so it looked very real. People were all very concerned. Do you want me to take that? Do you want me to take that? How am I going to play Words with Friends if you take this?
What Rob Bowman and I decided to do was shoot up to a certain point, the water rising to a certain point from as many angles as we could before we submerged them so that we wouldn't have to dry Stana's hair.
We built the day around not getting her hair wet, except one time, because it's an hour and a half to dry it.
Thought you could.
Let's get the hell out of here.
The rest is just the realism of if you can get the actors to play that there is no way out while you're shooting, getting the rising anxiety that's driven by the water coming up. I don't care if you can get out of the car in a second or not. When the water gets up to here, and her seatbelt has held her into the seat, it still gets a little freaky when it starts going in your nose and, in your mouth and all that kind of stuff.
It's a visual that has a lot of impact. I mean, you see somebody drowning and the hair is just floating around them. And there's a moment of terror and then there's a moment of surrender, which it was interesting. I thought it was kind of a neat point to play for the characters.
And cut! Oh, that's great.
The biggest challenge on these episodes for us in post-production are the visual effects.
Encore has been part of the Castle family for a long time now. They do all of our visual effects, creating a digital car that was a match for Beckett's car that went off the dock, putting it in water, and water is very difficult to recreate in a way that is convincing on film.
Once we kind of knew what we were doing based on the storyboards, we did rough animatics. It's really just a gray shaded car falling.
In the animatic, we don't have the water. It's very basic. But this gives the director an idea of what it may look like, will look like at the end. One of the big notes was the camera was static and didn't move. And something the director brought up is that if there was an actual cameraman in the water, he'd be swaying around and reacting to a car coming at him from the water.
You start with modeling the car. You need reference frames of the actual vehicle on set.
I took some real-world lighting from set, so you get the real reflections where the sun was at the moment that we did the stunt. And then as soon as the real accident happened, I immediately started taking pictures of what the damage was going to look like, because we had to reproduce that. I just sent it over to the guys here just so they get an idea of what the damage is going to be like. They see the intricacies of the damage and all that so they can recreate it in their 3D world.
Once we got the animation nailed down, it was really kind of down to the fine details.
You know Nathan did that big bubble pass?
Yeah.
That's where those should go from.
Okay. Doing the bubble simulations, actually lighting and shading the car, creating the water environment.
Lighting is very, very critical in visual effects because if there's a little more shade on it, a little more shadow, then I think your realism goes up. Hopefully, the end result is that the audience never steps out of the scene because something looks fake, that they're just drawn into the real drama of it. So we tried very, very hard to create a great sort of production value.
Okay, look, we're running out of time. I need you to see if you can find that gun.
Flashlight is the first yes after a series of no's. No, 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 he can't be dead, he can't be dead, I can't be alone. Alexis can't do that, and then the flashlight is yes.
Okay.
And, you know, we're playing the emotion of the moment, but I feel like we need some kind of dread pad creeping in underneath. Robert Duncan is an incredibly versatile composer. In the spotting sessions, we spend a lot of time talking about what the intent of the scene is and give him some guidance as to the emotional journey we're hoping that the audience takes.
Rob and Andrew will lay out the roadmap of what they want the audience to feel, and then it's my job to take that information back here. So right now, I've got this scene with the car plummeting into the water, and the first instruction was to just create a sense of frantic tension.
His studio feels like a combination of a music studio with all the great instruments, but all these odd things to make these odd musical sounds. He has an old piano there that's completely out of tune, and sometimes he'll just crunch the strings on the piano to get kind of a disturbing feel to it.
Quite often there's a link I find between what we're seeing on the screen and what the objects may even be made of. We're watching a car submerging. A metal percussion will fit with that image. What I like about using these organic textures is the rattle and the chaos that's inherent in the sound. I think Castle sets a high bar in terms of Andrew's writing and Rob's cinematic experience. If I can maintain that level of detail, then I'll be happy.
This door won't open.
Yeah, mine won't either.
It was really great to be able to end the first part with that kind of stunt and that physical jeopardy.
I was quite excited to have a big stunt day and to be able to create that kind of story.
I think the fans were as thrilled with the episode as we could ever hope they were.
When we get feedback like, is it next Monday yet? We know that we've done our job.
Cut, guys, cut.
Did you get any of it?